before I met you two, I lived in a comfortable house. Yeah, I ate excellent food every day. I was really living a good life, and now look at me.
You're very hard to please. You don't like being on the run with a fair chance of being killed by Urko?
Well, I would like a couple of minutes to think that over before I answer.
What about all the excitement and stimulation we provide? And all the fun things you've learned?
I have learned that life is made up of a series of hills that I get to climb up so that I can climb down.
And I know exactly a way to find out what's on the other side of that hill.
Marvelous the way you figure these things out, you know.
There you go.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Ape Nation, your number one source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and today I am giving my review of the 1974 TV series, Planet of the Apes. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things Apes. This is a series of reviews that will follow every single episode of the show, all leading up to a full series review later this year. If you haven't seen my reviews of the previous episodes, you can check all of them out right here. And for those who want to follow along with my reviews or just want to watch the entire show, I've put a link down in the description below where you can watch the show completely free. And as always, for those who haven't seen the show and don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to start with my general thoughts up top, and then I will proceed to go a little bit deeper into the rest of the episode, talking a little bit more open spoilers and giving my more detailed thoughts. So if you want to know my thoughts but haven't seen the episode and don't want to be spoiled, you can watch the first part of the video, click off, then go watch it, come back and hear the rest of what I have to say. Or if you've already seen the episode or just don't care, you can watch the entire video from beginning to end. So with all of that said, let's dive into Planet of the Apes episode 5, The Legacy. Burke, Virdon, and Galen are helped by a young woman and a young boy while searching for an underground computer in a ruined city and discover a holographic message from their scientists from their own time, which might help them find out what happened to their world. However, their plans go awry when Virdon is captured and Urko attempts to use the boy to get information out of him about his friend's whereabouts. So the first thing I want to say about this episode is that I think there are a lot of great things in it. I think it has some really solid highlights. That being said, I think it is my second least favorite episode of the show so far. Like I said, it does have some great stuff, but for everything that I do like about this episode, and I'd actually say there's probably more I do like than dislike, but there's a handful of stuff that I really was not a fan of at all, and it really knocked the episode down for me. First, I think the story that's being told here had potential for something really moving and really well done and really cool, but it was just really hard for me to emotionally connect with it all, and that's mainly due to the two characters that are introduced, the woman and the young boy, aka Arn and Craig, who is played by a young Jackie Earle Haley, which is really cool as a fan of Jackie Earle Haley. So that was really cool to see, but beyond him being in the role, the character didn't do much for me, and I'll get a bit more into why when I get into the episode, but I just found him really annoying, and I also found that the character of Arn just wasn't a character. She was just there as basically a plot device / potential love interest for Virdon, and so everything going on with those three characters just really brought the episode down for me. I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling the connection. I just couldn't get into it, and so it was kind of boring for me. That being said, I think there are a handful of more scenes in this episode that get to show off the trio's chemistry, the trio being Galen, Virdon, and Burke, and we get to see a bit of that, get a spotlight, so I really enjoyed that. And the overall story that's being moved forward here with the characters potentially going to be discovering what happened to the old Earth, to what happened to humanity, I think it opens up some really new and really exciting doors for the next few episodes, assuming that's where they go. So I think this episode does some really good stuff. There's some other stuff I enjoyed that I'll get to in a minute, but I really enjoyed some stuff, but a large bulk of it was really just sunk due to some characters that I couldn't get into and some stuff that I felt like I should have cared about a lot more but just didn't. And so I don't think it's a bad episode per se. I like it more than the Gladiators episode, but it's overall just just very much a mixed bag for me, and so now I'm going to get into why. So like I mentioned before, something I liked about this episode is that we get a bit more time spent with Galen, Virdon, and Burke. We get to see some of their chemistry get more time to shine, and that's something I've been wanting more of. I mean, we don't necessarily get an entire episode of it here at all, but the first maybe 10 or so minutes of it, we get a bit more of that than we have in the past, and I'm hoping that we start getting more and more of it, because that's something I've really been wanting to get more of a sense of, is seeing these three have that back and forth, have that chemistry really explored, and all getting to know each other more and more. So I'm hoping we get more of that, but I like that we're starting to get more of that here. Speaking of chemistry, we also get kind of a new duo in this episode, which would be Burke and Galen. That's a character pairing that we haven't seen much of yet, and it's really fun. I liked their back and forth. I liked that pairing between the two of them trying to figure out how to find Virdon. I really liked them together. It brought out some of the humor in Galen a bit more this episode, which I really enjoyed. I think Roddy McDowall has a really natural comedic presence and comedic timing, and so I think he's great in those moments, and so it made me want to see more of those two characters, just the two of them paired up again in the future. So I hope we get more of that as well, because I really enjoyed it. Getting into some of the world building stuff that I've really enjoyed throughout this show, something that it's starting to tease is what happened to humans, what happened to humanity, what happened to Earth to lead to the humans' downfall and the rise of apes. And this episode starts to delve a little bit deeper into what actually happened. We don't actually know, but we get some teases. We get to see some of that, what would have been the future technology to the humans of old. And I think that them setting that up and them potentially going to go on that journey throughout the next few episodes to learn more about that and discover that kind of stuff, it's really fun and it's really interesting, and it keeps me excited to see where things go. So that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about this show the most, is the world building aspect and just getting to see more sides of the Planet of the Apes universe that we didn't get to see in the movies, and getting to see a different time period explored combined with that world building. So I'm really enjoying that kind of stuff. I think that was done well in this episode, and I hope it continues in the following episodes. And then another thing that also ties into that is the human side of things. I think this episode, while it's not necessarily a big part of it, there's a moment where we get to just kind of feel just how desperate some of the humans are. They're just living in despair, a lot of these humans, and that's never been more apparent than the moment when Craig is just grasping at any opportunity he can to get food. He's willing to sell out Virdon for food. He's willing to do anything just to get a little bit more food because he's starving. And I think that was something that hasn't really been touched on in the series thus far, is the desperation of humans and just how low humans have fallen, and getting to see the effect that has on some of them. So I really was intrigued by that, and I think that was something that I'd like to see explored a bit more. And then speaking of Craig, his dynamic with Virdon is something that, while I don't like the character of Craig, I did like that angle they were going for, and I think what it does is provide some really solid development even further than last episode for Virdon as a character. I like that we get to continue to see him get fleshed out more. I like that we get to see more of that family man side of him that we've kind of heard about and been alluded to, but now we're actually getting to see it up close and on screen. And I like that each episode is starting to delve a little bit deeper into at least one of the main characters, whether it be Galen or Burke or Virdon, the last two being Virdon. So I'm hoping maybe the next episode could be a Galen episode, or it could be a Burke episode, so we'll see. But I like that we're getting to know each of these characters a little bit deeper each time. I really like that, and I think it uses the television medium to do just that in a really solid and effective way. And then also I liked seeing Zeus more. We haven't gotten to see him much since the first episode, and while he doesn't get a whole lot to do in this episode, I like whenever he pops up and he's continuing to prove himself to be just like the original Dr. Zeus, which makes me again wonder why they named him Zeus. They could have just given him another name, because it makes it just feel like a copy of Zeus. But I do like that they're showing that there are other characters like that. There were characters like Dr. Zeus before Dr. Zeus who were having that same type of goal, but maybe approaching it a bit differently and had a bit more of a different personality. So I like that we're having another similar type of character that's trying to hide the truth, that's trying to preserve ape kind the way it is now. I think that adds tension, I think that adds drama, and it's just frustrating, but in a really good way. And I like that we're getting a character like that again in this show. That all being said, like I mentioned up top, this is my second least favorite episode of the show so far, and there are two main reasons why, and I touched on them lightly, but I'll get into them more now. The main kid, Craig, he is just so irritating this entire episode. There's no way around it. And I don't like ragging on kids. I don't like, especially child actors, I think. And of course, as someone who's a fan of Jackie Earle Haley, I don't want to, trash talk him, especially as a kid actor, but I just found his performance really annoying. I found it really aggravating at times and just whiny. And I know that's how kids are. And I'm not saying I dislike kids or anything like that. It's just sometimes it's just not what I want to see on screen. And especially when you're really leaning into it and it's a big part of the story, it can get tiring, it can get annoying, it can get exhausting. And that's exactly what was the case for me here. I felt similar to him that I felt about Anto in episode 4. But with that character, I at least liked the arc that they took him on, even if I didn't like the character overall. And here, I just found him even more annoying than Anto. And he just really got on my nerves after a while and just was a very stereotypical, annoying, whiny kid. And then as for the other character, Arn, she just wasn't given anything to really do. She kind of just exists, and to be a potential love interest for Virdon, they kind of hint at it. They don't really do anything with it, but they hint at it. And I don't know, it just felt like they just put her in for no reason, but it didn't really work for me. And the whole dynamic of the three of them, I liked what they were going for. I liked that they were trying to show Virdon with this whole family dynamic, this family man side of him. I liked that they were trying to do that, and I liked seeing that side of him, but it just never got me really to connect with that group. And so because I never really connected with it, it made it really hard for me to care about the story. And that's the other thing that really hurts it for me, is that the story, I think, is pretty strong when it comes to the concept of it, and it provides a really great opportunity when it comes to its characters. But again, it's so hard to care about or connect with it, and it makes it feel boring. It makes me just check out anytime it's showing those three characters on screen throughout this episode. And I've heard some people say that this is one of the better episodes of the show, so maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe I was just not in the right headspace to watch it, I don't know, but it just didn't click with me anytime it was focused on those three characters. But like I said, I liked all the Burke and Galen stuff. Anytime I went back to them, I was into it, and I did like getting to know more about Virdon again in this episode. And there's moments here and there that are fun, but all that stuff really just weighed it down for me, and I just couldn't get into it. I just didn't care. But that all being said, I don't think it's a terrible episode. I don't think it's a bad episode by any means. It's okay. It's got its moments, it's got its highlights, and I still think it's better than The Gladiators, which is easily the worst episode by far. So all in all, I did enjoy parts of it, and I'm looking forward to the next episode because of what was set up here. But I was just underwhelmed and a little annoyed by some of the stuff they were doing here, which made it a bit of a disappointment of an episode for me. That being said, I want to know what you guys think of this episode down in the comments below. If it is one of your favorites, or if it's one that you really enjoyed, let me know why I'm wrong down in the comments below, or just let me know your general thoughts on the episode. But I will be back again next week with my review for episode 6. But until then, thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll catch you in the next one, so until then, goodbye.